I may have a terrible memory, but I still vividly remember that moment in grad school when I realized that there was so much more that I didn't know beyond just subject area expertise. I remember I was sitting in my first grad school seminar, and I felt as if everyone else around me was speaking a different language that I didn't understand. This wasn't the first time that I felt this way. I can remember as far back as being in first grade when it was my first day. I didn't go to kinder or pre-K, and I didn't know the language. I literally did not know how to speak English. And so here I am, several years later. I'm in a PhD seminar, and I'm thinking, wait, I know English, but why is everyone speaking in a language that I don't understand? Why are they using big fancy terms and all of this jargon that sounded like gibberish to me? And of course, if you think about it, my program at the time was heavily grounded in critical theory. I didn't have that background. It makes a lot of sense. But what I thought that I needed to do was what I had always done, which is that every time I struggled in school, I thought to myself, I just need to work harder. I'm going to read more. I'm going to study harder. And eventually I will play catch up. Looking back, however, it seems rather silly to take that approach because I realized that something much bigger was happening. Grad school is about more than just academics and earning another degree. It's also about learning how to navigate a completely different cultural system than college, one that comes with its own language, expectations, and unwritten rules. There are so many particularities about the experience of going to grad school where you're both a student and you're a professional. There's so many rules that are hidden. And, if you're someone who is the first in your family, or if you're one of the few that looks like you, sounds like you, has your identities and experiences in your program, it can feel especially isolating. In my case, I was the youngest in my program. I constantly felt infantilized by others. I was one of two people who was first gen, so I didn't feel understood by my peers. I was also at a PWI, and even though I went to the same institution for grad school as I did for undergrad, it was not the same. In this program, I was one of two Latinas at the time who were in the program, and unfortunately the other one left the program. Maybe she was pushed out, I'm not sure. But in any case, it was not the ideal scenario for me, and there were so many things that I did not know. So if you have felt like you have to play catch up, or if you felt like you're in a space where everybody else understands what's going on and you missed out on the instruction manual, then please keep listening to this episode. A lot of us, we might come into grad school with some form of academic preparation, but there's still so much that we don't know about the rules, about the expectations, and all of this can impact how you are supposed to navigate grad school successfully. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to pull back the curtain on all the things I wish I knew before starting grad school. And I'm going to share some of the things from the perspective of someone who has been in the grad admissions space for 16 years now, and someone who has had a PhD for over a decade now. So let's get into it. Welcome to the award-winning Grad School Femtoring podcast, the place where first-generation BIPOC students and professionals can listen in on inclusive grad school stories and gain practical tools for sustainable success. This is Doctora Yvette Martinez-Vu, a certified coach, consultant, author, and speaker. I will be serving as your femtor, providing you with insider knowledge to help you thrive in grad school and beyond. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Grad School Femtoring podcast. This is your host, Doctora Yvette. Today, I'm talking about the hidden curriculum of grad school, specifically what I wish I knew before starting a grad program. And I'm going to be sharing 3 truths about grad school and leave you with a few reflective questions so that you can get a head start on your program and make sure that you finish it in a more values aligned and sustainable way. So let's get into the first of the 3 truths I'm going to share. The first one is tied to what I mentioned earlier, which is that grad school is much more than academics. It's an entire cultural system. When I started grad school, again, I thought it was all about reading, writing, researching, and completing certain milestones that were listed in our handbook. What I didn't realize is that there's a whole other set of expectations that no one taught me. And it was an incredibly humbling and, in some cases, humiliating experience not knowing what was coming next. So there were some things that I just didn't know. I didn't know the proper decorum of how to email a professor for specific reasons, like for clarifying expectations. I was constantly second guessing myself and who I would reach out to and how I could reach out to them, double, triple checking emails, typos, etc. I also didn't know how to determine what opportunities were worth my time, what was worth saying yes to, and how do I even say no to protect my time and capacity. The idea of protecting my time and capacity wasn't even something that came to my mind until I got really sick. So for me, my standard answer was yes to everything because I thought if I don't say yes to this opportunity, it may never come back to me. I also didn't really know how to navigate departmental politics. It was actually my first time really getting a sense of the fact that there was departmental politics and drama in certain programs. It was my first time being more aware of hierarchies and gossip. Up to that point, when I was in college and took courses, I didn't know about professors, their personalities, their relationships with one another or lack thereof. And I didn't really have to think as much about things like funding or self-advocacy because I had been a relatively traditional student up to that point. I didn't have any particular health needs or other types of needs that required accommodations. So I just didn't know which office handled what forms. I didn't know what I didn't know. And this is really common as a first-gen student, as a student of color. A lot of this is unknown and a lot of this is challenging. It's understandable if you're someone who hasn't had family who navigated this system. And even if you have, I don't just work with first gen students, by the way. I work with second gen and continuing gen students, and even them, they have a hard time navigating these systems because the system is continuously changing. And so even if they have someone, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a sibling who did this before them, it's just a completely different system in their program, at their institution, or just with policies changing this year. And then if you're someone who is in a program where you don't have mentors who look and sound like you, it's going to feel especially hard to reach out for help. You're going to not feel as comfortable asking for guidance. And then let's say you are dealing with that on top of your other expectations. Some of us have a lot more roles, a lot more responsibilities, then that only adds to the complexity of grad school. Same thing with if you're neurodivergent. There's so much that is not written, so it's unwritten, and so much that is unstructured about grad school, especially when you're done with your first few years of coursework. You have so much unstructured time and you have to make sense of it on your own, that can make it even harder to navigate these invisible expectations. And so all of this to say, when it comes down to this idea of grad school is its own cultural system, I wish someone would have told me that even if I didn't know everything, I still deserved to be there. That even if I didn't know at all, I still deserved to feel like I belonged. that it's okay to ask questions and clarify expectations. Because yes, I did ask questions, and yes, sometimes I did get these weird stares from people that felt like they were judging me for asking basic questions. And another thing I really wish someone would have told me is to please, please try not to take things personally. Academia is full of big personalities and even bigger egos. And so your best bet is to learn not to take things personally and to remind yourself that one uncomfortable or harmful encounter isn't a reflection of you or your potential, and instead, it's a reflection of the greater cultural system and the issues that come with it. So please, please, please know that, because that would have saved me so much time and energy and so much therapy time if someone would have told me that incident, that conversation, that email exchange, please don't take it personally. It's more about them than it is about you. Applying to graduate school can feel overwhelming, especially when you're navigating the process without insider guidance. Through my grad school admissions consulting services, I offer first-generation and/or BIPOC students who want strategic and culturally relevant guidance throughout the application process. Together, we can build a thoughtful grad school list, help you refine your CV or resume, develop a compelling personal statement, help you prepare for interviews, review funding offers, and accept an offer that excites you. I meet you wherever you are in the process and provide feedback and guidance every step of the way. Consulting packages also include access to my graduate admissions resource library with dozens of resources, as well as email and voice memo support between sessions. Past clients have submitted applications they felt comfortable with that reflect who they are and what they stand for. They have also been admitted to competitive programs, secured over 6 figures of funding, and say that this was the best investment they've made in the process. If you're preparing to apply, visit gradschoolfemtoring.com/consulting to learn more and schedule a free consultation. Let's go on to truth number 2, which is that your output doesn't determine your worth. And this is not just true for grad school. This is true among so many high pressure environments. This is true for my working professionals, the folks I work with who are in corporate spaces. Oh my goodness, how we have been brainwashed in this country to think of productivity and output and efficiency as the end all be all and as the thing that makes us worthy. That's not true. And you know what? I'm going to say this. I don't know about you, but I was raised to believe that if I worked hard enough, eventually I'd land a cushy job that would allow me to take care of myself and my family. And in college, I was told that if I prepared for grad school, that as long as I did well academically, once I got into grad school, if I published enough, presented enough, that eventually I would land that coveted, cushy tenure track job. And I know part of this advice is advice that I received as a millennial because that's what worked for those that came before me. And yet, I don't know what kind of advice y'all are getting if you are Gen Z, and even for Gen A. It's just not the most relevant advice anymore. Sadly, working harder than everyone else doesn't guarantee you a job, especially in this job market. But you know what it does guarantee? Exhaustion. You know what it does guarantee? A good chance of burnout. And in some cases, in my case in particular, chronic health issues. And I don't want that for you. So if you ever felt this way, then please know that this feeling of I have to do as much as I can to prepare myself so that I'm successful, that's a very, very common feeling. And it also often results in stress and burnout and feelings of inadequacy. Those are all far too common in grad school. Again, if you've got other factors that impact you, if you are historically excluded, underrepresented in some way, shape, or form, you're going to feel that pressure even more of I have to work harder than everyone else around me. I have to prove that I belong in this space. I'm being asked to represent entire communities, and so I have to look good on behalf of them. Oh my goodness, I wish I could give you a hug and tell you that you don't have to hold all of this pressure on your own, and that that responsibility is not your own, and that you can take a break, you can rest, you can do less. And this reminds me actually that alongside all of this, thinking about how your output doesn't determine your worth, a lot of folks also will fall into feelings of imposter syndrome, or what is also called the imposter phenomenon, which is that you're being made to feel like an imposter. You feel like an imposter because you're in an environment that isn't affirming you, that isn't providing you with the adequate conditions to thrive. And yes, a lot of folks refer to the imposter syndrome as this feeling of, oh, I'm going to be caught. I am a fraud and I don't know enough, and someone's going to grill me. They're going to find out that I should have never gotten into grad school to begin with. And once again, if you feel this way too, please know that if you knew everything, you wouldn't have to be in a graduate program to begin with. That's why you're there. You're there to learn. You're there to receive guidance, support, training. So you're not supposed to know everything. So please, 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 you are not an imposter. But if you feel that way, blame the environment, not yourself. And the other thing, the last thing I want to say is that I wish someone would have told me when it comes down to my self-worth and my output that I didn't have to do it all. I didn't have to say yes to everything. I could say no to things. It wouldn't mean the end of the world. I could take a day off. I could take 24 to 48 hours to get back to an email. The world will go on with or without me tending to my work 24/7. I wish I would have been taught how to protect my peace and my well-being, and to remember that that was just as worthwhile, if not more, than anything else that I was working on in grad school. Let's get to the third truth. And this one is that you are not meant to do this alone. A lot of these truths, with the exception of the first one, the second and the third one, I feel like these are truths that apply to so many professional spaces. But in grad school in particular, a lot of us are told that you have to figure it out on your own. You're told that you have to complete milestones on your own, you have to present on your own, publish on your own, and eventually things will work out. And I find that this is even more prevalent in the humanities and social sciences because in these fields, sole authored work is what's valued most. But again, I wish someone would have told me that I need to prioritize seeking out mentorship and being a mentor to others, because it makes a profound difference. It makes a huge difference for BIPOC and first-gen students, for our sense of belonging, for our sense of satisfaction, for our sense of joy and our quality of life in grad school. And you know what I was told instead? I was told that service work was a waste of my time, that there were so many other better uses of my time. And that really, really frustrates me. So I was told, don't mentor others. It's a waste of your time. And no one actually explicitly taught me how to seek mentors. And actually, if you feel the same way, if you're thinking to yourself right now, wait, hold up. No one's taught me how to find mentors. No one's taught me how to map out the different types of support that I need. I want you to pause what you're doing right now, pause this recording, and go and get the links to episodes 310 and 337 of this podcast, Grad School Femtoring. So go to those episodes. 310 is on creating a femtorship map, so a map of your different mentors and femtors and the types of support they can offer you. And 337 is on what to do if you're struggling to secure and maintain mentors. because I don't want you to be missing out on this information if no one else has told you. And overall, when it comes to this truth in particular, I wish I had known earlier that asking for help isn't a form of weakness and that community care is essential to your overall success. Not just in your academics, not just in your career, but in your life too. So as we get close to wrapping up this episode, I'm going to leave you with 3 reflection prompts. Go ahead and journal on them, record a voice memo on them, talk through them with a friend, or simply sit with them during your next work break. You could think about them when you're folding clothes, when you're in the shower, you name it. Whenever you have some downtime, think about them. The first one is I want you to think about what unspoken rule, what norm, what form of etiquette or expectation, what is it about grad school that makes me feel like I don't belong? And how can I name it more clearly? The second one is, where am I overworking to prove my worth? And what would it look like to do less or to rest more? And let me just be honest for a moment. I still struggle with this one. I still sometimes find myself doing a little bit of extra work than I need to. Someone asks me for a workshop and I just want to go above and beyond. Someone asks for a digital toolkit, I want to go above and beyond. Whatever it is, like I can't help but want to do more. And it is tied to wanting to prove my worth in addition to wanting to be helpful, which is all tied to this obsession we have over productivity culture and how the more you do is a reflection of your worth. So please know we are all a work in progress. I'm still working on that, and I still constantly have to remind myself to do less. The last question that I'm leaving you with is, who are my top 3 people or communities that I can reach out to this week for support? Yes, please reach out to people. I know it's not easy, especially for those of us that are more introverted or those of us that are neurodivergent or those of us that sometimes require preserving some energy to reach out to people, but it's so worthwhile. Even if you have to force yourself to reach out to someone, you'd be surprised how many people are out there who want to see you succeed and who want to be part of the process of helping you get there. So write these 3 questions down. What is it about grad school that makes me feel like I don't belong, and how can I name it? Where am I overworking to prove my worth? And what would it look like to do less? And who are my top 3 people or communities that I can reach out to this week for support? You know what? I'm not going to say that grad school is easy. It's certainly hard. And if you are underrepresented in some way, shape, or form, it's even harder. But it's not your fault. And you can do things to make your experience less harmful. You can ask for help. You can practice self-compassion. You can go ahead and lift others up as you keep going. So if this episode resonated with you, I invite you to share the wealth. Share it with another friend, another colleague, another peer who either is in grad school or is thinking about grad school or is applying to grad school this year. And then please don't forget, if you haven't already, I say this often, but go ahead and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It's been a while since I received one, and I read every single one of them. They really mean the world to me. So that's it for today. I appreciate you for listening all the way to the end. And as always, I'll talk to you all next time. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, here are 3 ways you can support the show. The first is to make sure you're subscribed and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. The second way is to get your copy of my free resource kit linked in my show notes. This kit includes tools, worksheets, and curated podcast playlists to guide you through applying to and navigating grad school. The third way to support my show is by joining my email newsletter, where I share key takeaways and additional resources. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.